facts, I'm known to keep it real. I ain't worried about your feelings when I'm in the field. They be watching what I do from my highlight reel. I'm just running to the paper, fuck how you feel. If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. Shout out to the crew and they get real, real. I'm in with the crew, nigga, real deal.
What is up, everybody? RDL, we are back for another week of Fantasy Insight, going over last week's games and giving you input for anything you may need for your fantasy league coming up in the upcoming weeks. I would like to apologize in advance for having no show last week. Things happen, but it's okay. We're back now, and that's all that matters. Here to provide you with more fantasy insight. Bruce, Trav, how's everybody feeling today?
What's going on?
Feeling great, man.
Yeah, Trap. Are you?
That's been
Are you
nice.
really?
I mean, I'm dying a little inside, man. I mean,
Are you really?
it was a wild situation.
Let's just get that out of the way. So, in two leagues that we are in together, Trav is a commissioner for a dynasty league that he runs very well, and I am the commissioner for this league that we talk about here. And the name of the podcast, a Real Deal League, which is a redraft league, 12 man. I played Trav in both leagues this year. I kept Trav at bay for the RDL league. Unfortunately, he has still no wins. It sucks to say, but what's fun is that we could talk about that dynasty game. The dynasty game was close, and unfortunately, as we know, Purdy kind of ruined it for you.
Yeah, so just to give everyone a rundown of the situation, I was down 46 points going into Monday Night Football. I had Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy, and Jordan Addison in a full PPR Superflex league, and Kevin had the 46-point lead and George Kittle.
That's it.
We get to the fourth quarter, and this 46-point lead is now completely erased. We are tied at 130. And then Brock Purdy just completely starts shitting the bed on me. And that was it. Kevin won by 4 points. Brock Purdy's 2 interceptions takes away 4 points that if he didn't throw, I might have got the W. But it was such a roller coaster of emotions. And it's exactly why we play fantasy football. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat for a game that I have really no rooted interest in other than the fact that I have Purdy, I have Ayuk, I have Addison. I want to see how they do. And Addison went nuclear. But that's why we play fantasy football, for situations like that. Sometimes you're going to win them, sometimes you're going to lose them, but it made Monday Night Football 100 times more enjoyable.
No, yeah, 100%. And as far as I get some pride points and just some shit talking points now. That's all that matters right now. But in the dynasty league, Trav still has he's still up there on the leaderboard above me. And in the RDL league, I went from at 1 point 12th place to 9th place right now. So I'm moving my way back up, trying to find a playoff spot before the playoffs hit later in the season. And that's what we're here for, to help you make your team go from worst to first, or to keep you at bay at where you're at and make sure that you're able to make the playoffs. As we're getting further and further into the weeks of fantasy football, we're going into week 8. But before we talk about week 8, let's talk some about week 7 and the games that we have there. Any game that you guys want to talk about first?
You kick it off with that Saints game.
All right.
Thursday night.
Go ahead, Bruce. What we got with that Jacksonville New Orleans game, week 7, first game of the week, Thursday Night Football?
Well, basically, it was a good night for Kamara. Kamara bounced back.
I felt like
game.
Derek Carr didn't have any other receiver out there except for Kamara. He gave him the
garbage.
Bro, I was playing him in one of my leagues. I was getting so upset how much he got the look downs bad. I was like, Jesus, throw it to someone else.
Yeah, but he didn't look good though. He didn't look good. His frustration set in. I don't know what's gonna go on with him this week. I have him in Dynasty. That's why I don't know what to do with Derek Carr, man. Derek Carr is killing me right now. Doesn't look like he's finding Olave like he should. I don't think he's finding any of his receivers like he should. He was literally seeing Kamara all night. 14 targets, 12 receptions. That's a lot of targets for the check down, bro. So that was just a bad night. Having Olave hurts right now. It's just the most frustrating thing the situation could be for you right now as an Olave owner. Especially now, we don't know what, outside of him being arrested, yesterday or the night before.
Locked up.
Yeah, watch out for 12. Seriously.
Yeah.
But even before that, man, he's not getting the ball with Carr, so you were in a bad spot. Hopefully, he doesn't get any suspensions coming out of this. But you really want to see Carr find him the ball, man. I don't know if they should bring Hainer out, try Hainer. I say that because I don't know. Derek Carr's struggling right now, but on the other side of the ball, I don't want to talk too much about Carr, but you got ETN balling again. ETN's still doing his thing, so you're happy as an ETN owner if you got him. Happy if you're a Camaro owner because you see some life. And I guess big question is what's going on with Ridley in that game. At 1.5 points.
Yeah, only four
targets,
4
one reception.
Yeah.
That's the most concerning thing is the 4 targets, because with Olave, we can sit here and say he only got 57 yards, 7 catches, but he saw 15 targets. Now, some of them weren't catchable, and Derek Carr was yelling at him for not running at these uncatchable targets, but at least he's getting 15 looks. Calvin Ridley, someone that they traded pretty good draft capital for to acquire, only has 4 targets, and this isn't anything new. Calvin Ridley's been pretty inconsistent all year as far as his fantasy production. I mean, he's got finishes as wide receiver 81, wide receiver 66, wide receiver 56, and now in week 7 against the Saints, a finish as wide receiver 90 with that whopping 1.5. So Calvin Ridley was a player we were panicking on a while ago, and it's clear that that panic was warranted because it does not look like it's getting better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, the guy over there for Trevor Lawrence right now is Christian Kirk. Besides week 1, we did not see not 1 week from week 2 to this previous week in 7. He has outscored his projection every week. And this is comfort and security for a quarterback when you get 6 looks and you're catching all 6 of those looks. He did not have one drop pass. He caught all the passes coming his way with 90 yards, a touchdown. Yeah, he had a fumble loss that would have put him at 21 points, but hey, shit happens. But Christian Kirk's the guy over there right now. Evan Ingram is getting a lot of looks as well. But between Etienne and Christian Kirk, that's where the love is going. And Ridley is, like you said, he's just inconsistent. Does he have that boom capability? Yeah, he's fast. He can make plays, but that's not always the scenario, especially when you have a team like Jacksonville, which spreads the ball as much as they try to, and they're not looking for boom plays. They're more trying to get down the field methodically and get the ball in the end zone. And it just proved that this week because New Orleans is a good defense. The problem, like Bruce said with New Orleans, is Derek Carr. And I want to go back to that real quick. He threw the ball 55 times. 55 times. 300 yards. It sounds good, right? At the end of the day, but it's not. He only had 33 completions, and a lot of those passes were checked down to Kamara. So it's tough. It's tough. And I agree with the Olave thing. We don't know what's going to happen. We've seen some other receivers in the past, as you were speaking on earlier, Trav, who have done similar offenses and got arrested for it, and they had no suspensions. But we can imagine that maybe possibly something might happen. But Michael Thomas as well, only 7 looks with 3 receptions. He had the tutty that saved his points, but
absolutely, yeah.
This is a scary scenario when Carr's there.
Bro, real quick. There's no reason why Taysom Hill should be outscoring everybody on that team outside of Kamara.
It's ridiculous.
No reason for it, bro. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of seeing it.
I mean,
I'm tired of it. I'm sick of seeing it, man. Taysom Hill keeps getting a lot of points.
Yeah, keep getting away with
and
that.
It's so funny because
keep getting away with this.
It's so funny because even Michael Thomas was on Twitter breaking down one of the plays where Derek Carr was trying to target Taysom Hill, and he was like, 7 wasn't even a part of the progression. Like, he just looked at Taysom Hill being 7. He's like, he just looked at Taysom and never came off of him. He was supposed to go from Taysom to Olave to Thomas, or from Taysom to Rashid Shaheed to Thomas, like Michael Thomas was saying on the tweet, and he never got off of Taysom Hill. And players are upset. Like, the skill position players, they're vocal about how upset they are that Taysom Hill is getting the attention that he's getting when you've got 2 legitimate wide receiver options in Chris Olave and Michael Thomas. So, I mean, frustration is starting to take over there in New Orleans. And we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out because it doesn't seem like these guys are that thrilled with Derek Carr right now.
Yeah, it's like the defense doesn't even like take him into consideration. That's why he's always open. You know, it's just
That's what it feels like.
Yo, this guy's getting the ball again.
Yeah, no, it was wild. I watched that game as TNF, so the only eyes on football on Thursday Night Football. I watched the game, and once again, before we move on to the next game, I kept looking at the Kamara. I was like, damn, another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, and that is not sustainable. It's not, because unless Carr figures it out, obviously, that's easy to cover a running back out of the backfield. Hopefully that opens everything else for the receivers further down the line, but I don't see it. Carr's just not playing good at all.
Yeah, he's not looking down. He's not staying with things that are supposed to develop down the field. There's video breakdowns of him just hiking the ball and immediately getting it to Kamara, who's supposed to be the check down.
Exactly.
So it's good for Kamara. It's good for Kamara owners. It really is. And that's all we really care about, right? Forget if Derek Carr is a good quarterback in the NFL. He's supporting one of our fantasy studs in Alvin Kamara. So obviously 12 catches a week is not sustainable. Probably won't be that much. But I think you can assume that Kamara is going to stay in that 6 to 9 catches a game range because it's who he was with Drew Brees. And Derek Carr is not Drew Brees by any means, but he is similar in the thought process of let me just get the ball to one of my best players fast and let him do something with it. So I think Kamara is going to continue to have a rock star season.
All right. I mean, there you go, guys. I mean, if you have Kamara on your team, you know that you're going to probably, and I agree to an extent, you're probably going to have outscored projections on a weekly basis. And Carr's going to be the guy until he's not now. Okay, let's move around. Let's move along. Talking about running backs that had good points. Let's move to this Detroit and Baltimore game. Detroit itself
finally here.
Detroit itself had a terrible game when he put up 6 points, but in fantasy waves, we finally have a Jahmyr Gibbs sighting, guys. We finally have a Jahmyr Gibbs. I know it came at the cost of Montgomery being out, but we had a sighting, and it was exciting to see. 11 carries, 68 yards, a tutty, 10 looks, 9 catches, 58 yards with a whopping 27.60 points, outscoring his projection for the first time since ever.
Give him the workload, bro. He could do it. Just give him the workload. He's right here. He's proved that you could give him the workload.
Yeah,
he could do what Montgomery was doing. Put him out there. Put the guy out there.
And this Detroit team just proved to us, as we speak about a lot on this podcast, that it's not always about the tutties. It's not always about these things. Because look, Jahmyr Gibbs had that one tutty, but one tutty doesn't give you 27 points. He had a lot of love. St. Brown, no tutties, but he got 19 looks with 13 receptions and 100 yards, 23 points. It's not always about the touchdown, so don't worry all the time about that. We like to talk on this show about value and the looks that your player's getting. We talked about Kamara getting a shit ton of looks, and we're going to talk about a little bit about St. Brown getting 19 looks is huge.
Yeah. In a game where they trailed, I mean, from the very beginning, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a beneficiary, right? And even to an extent, so was Jahmyr Gibbs, who got 10 targets in his own right and caught 9 of those passes. But that's a game script that the Detroit Lions haven't really seen yet. Trailing by that much, getting absolutely dominated the entire game, and it still favored your fantasy studs. Like we said, we finally got that boom game from Jahmyr Gibbs. Hopefully he can maintain it while David Montgomery is out. But Amon-Ra St. Brown's a superstar. There's no denying that. He's going to get his looks, his targets regardless. It was just nice to see it in a game where everything was just way out of reach for the Detroit Lions. These guys remained the same, and Amon-Ra was able to bring in 23.2 fantasy points for you. And like we said, Jahmyr Gibbs just had an incredible game as well.
Yeah, poor Jared Goff got beat up.
He sure did.
Yeah. It was a surprising game. I didn't expect it to be this bad. 38-6, Baltimore just doing Baltimore things. Doing Baltimore things.
Lamar, man.
Yeah, Lamar looked good. Let's jump on that. Lamar looked good. 357 yards, 3 tutties against a really good Detroit team. He had 9 rushes for 36 yards. He lost the ball once, but he got 3 tutties in the air, 1 on the ground. And that's going to give you a whopping 33.88 points from Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it was a hell of a performance. He did it as a passer mainly, which is
Right.
what people wanted to see from Lamar in this new offense with their new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. People thought that this was going to be a possibility through the air, Lamar killing you. And it was. Zay Flowers had 4 catches for 75 yards. That's good enough for 11.5. Really no pass catcher. I mean, Zay Flowers, it's good to see that. You know, he's a solid flex option for sure. No other Ravens wide receiver really is, though. The star of the pass catching game for the Ravens was Mark Andrews, and he only caught 4 balls, but 63 yards, 2 touchdowns, good enough for 22.3 fantasy points on National Tight End Weekend. He put up a hell of a game for you if you had him. And then on the flip side, running the ball, Gus Edwards, 14 carries, 64 yards and a touchdown, 1 catch for 80 yards. He took that thing the length of the field and came up just shy of the end zone. But Gus Edwards put together a really good game as well.
Yeah, man. Gus Edwards is obviously the lead back after our injury early on in the year. Justice Hill there got a little bit of looks, but nothing too crazy. So Gus Edwards is your guy there. You continue starting him. He's working, even though Lamar does have the rushing capability, Gus Edwards is working very well in that system over there. Zay Flowers, like you said, giving us points. And there wasn't much. I mean, there was much spreading of the ball, but there wasn't much points elsewhere besides Mark Andrews. But like you said, Mark Andrews had the 2 tutties to save him. We'll talk about the
National Tight Ends Day.
Yeah. National Tight Ends Day. I mean, Laporte on the other end outscored his projections as well with 7 looks at 11 points. Not much, but he did outscore his projections. The Ravens defense was also a star there, putting up 16 points. More of these defenses, which is I don't know if it's just me, but I don't remember in my very recent knowledge that so many defenses putting up so many points on this year. I don't know if this is something in the past that I've just not paid attention to defenses that much, but a lot of defenses are putting up double-digit scores, and it's crazy.
Yeah, these defenses are popping off on a weekly basis. There's like at least 2 of them that are going absolutely insane, outscoring some star wide receivers some weeks. So, I mean, it's interesting. We don't spend too much time talking about it, so it doesn't feel like it's happening, but it most certainly is.
Right, and that's why I wanted to bring it up because pay attention to those streaming defenses, man. Pay attention to the teams that they're playing and streaming your defenses, which a lot of fantasy owners do. I picked up Kansas City in one of my leagues, an RDL league, 2 weeks ago because they were playing Denver, and then they're playing a good team this week. I expected maybe to get 5 points, maybe. They gave me 10, but the only reason I kept them and I didn't stream them is because guess what? They play Denver next week again, so it's something to look at. When you're streaming your defenses, look at the games that they have coming up. If your team's doing well and you can risk your defense only putting up 3 or 5 points, but it means next week you don't have to go looking at the waiver wires for another defense, keep them on your team.
Absolutely.
It's funny because I had 3 defenses last week. Like,
oh my God.
It wasn't meant to, I had to make a final decision after that. You can't drop the Jets defense. And then I had the Bucks defense, which was hot in the beginning of the season. I mean, they're still a good defense, but I kept Kansas City. Kansas City paid off. So,
right. And going over to the next game, which is Vegas against Chicago, and we'll stick on the defense. The Bears giving us 17 points, 3 interceptions, only allowing 12 points to the Vegas, a sack, and the Bears defense also had a touchdown. 17 points, and besides that, nobody else really went crazy on Chicago except for Mr. Foreman. Now he was the main back there. To be honest, I did not expect it. I didn't expect it to be this good, but it was good. He's still doing Foreman things.
Yeah,
89 yards.
Like himself. He looked like he stopped leaving. Like he didn't stop going to the gym, dude. He ain't stopped working out.
Listen, if we were able to get this show off last week, I would have told you, hey, don't start him, because I wouldn't have trusted it. I would be honest with you. But hey, I'm glad that the show didn't come out last week, because then I would have been wrong.
I mean, running back is just so thin, man. Like I wouldn't fault anybody for being like, you know what, I gotta start him, because we've gone. Yeah.
Some people doesn't have choice.
Yeah, the way it's gone. I mean, you draft Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson, and you don't know which one's gonna be the guy. And then early season, it's Khalil Herbert. Now he's on IR. Then you think it's gonna be Roschon Johnson. Dude's had a concussion for 2 weeks. Like there's something wild going on there. Something far beyond a regular concussion, because that's insane. And then Deontay Foreman just comes in and shows out immediately. 89 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 31 yards through the air, receiving touchdown, good enough for 33 points. I mean, you kind of have to start him now after this performance. You kind of just ride it out and see where it takes you. But I want to talk about the other side of this game, the Las Vegas Raiders, because, and I want to point out a couple of things. Josh Jacobs continues this roller coaster of a season. I want to spend a little time talking about him, but we'll wait on that. Jacoby Myers, 3 straight weeks, has outperformed Davante Adams, and he continues to do so. And Jacoby Myers missed a game this year. So let's put this in a perspective. Through PPR or in PPR formats, through these first 7 weeks, with him missing a game, Jacoby Myers is wide receiver 12 on the year. Davante Adams playing in all 7 is wide receiver 10. But these 3 weeks in a row, Jacoby Myers, wide receiver 10, wide receiver 14, wide receiver 11. He is somehow by far outperforming Davante Adams right now. And
technically to 3 quarterbacks.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I don't know what to make of that. But, I mean, kudos to Jacoby Myers. He's probably one of those draft steals this year, like Adam Thielen, like Puka Nacua, something along those lines. But, man, he is just absolutely killing it.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to point out. Like Jacoby Myers still with another quarterback, 2 other quarterbacks, and he's still taking the targets.
Yeah.
But I mean, he just had 1 more target, but he's doing more with them, and they're finding him in the end zone. So he's got the right situation going for him. But what I want to talk about for me is the dynasty aspect. I need O'Connell to start. I want O'Connell to start, dude. Yeah. But I didn't. I really have no involvement in these games. I don't have no Raiders. I had their defense. And I think I had their kicker, and he let me down.
He's the kicker.
Yeah, I mean,
he missed 2.
DJ Moore
he missed one.
I was just gonna say DJ Moore put up a serviceable game with no Justin Fields, 8 catches, 54 yards, good enough for 13.4 points. That's like flex worthy. But other than that, I think the main takeaway from this game is you start Deontay Foreman moving forward, and somehow, some way, Jacoby Myers keeps out producing Davante.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, besides that, like you said, there's not much to look over on this game. The shining light is Myers through 3 quarterbacks, like you stated. He's still putting up points. So with that said, we can say here that don't worry about the quarterback carousel that's going all over in Vegas. Myers is still going to put up points as he's proven.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Josh Jacobs, he was a buy low a while ago because I thought he was one of my buy lows because I thought he was going to pop off. He gets the 28-point game against the Chargers, 19 against the Packers, and now these last 2 weeks he's kind of back to earth. So I don't know what's going on with his season. It's very up and down, but hopefully he can get on track. He has a tough matchup against Detroit this week, but then his next 3 after that, the Giants, the Jets, the Dolphins. So we'll see if Josh Jacobs can put something together for you this next month of fantasy football.
No, for sure.
That game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That game,
exactly. It's trash.
That's it. Talk about old boy Blue.
yeah. Moving to a good game. It was an exciting game to watch. Cleveland versus Indianapolis. It was an exciting game to watch. There was a lot of back and forth. Got some love from our Jonathan Taylor guy. We're seeing, as I said, the carries and the snap count changing. Zach Moss getting the 18 carries, yes, but not producing as much. And Jonathan Taylor being able to put up some points, 21 points last week, 18 carries, 75 yards, a tutty, 3 catches for 45 yards. I believe he had a decent little catch there. I think it was like for 20 yards, 25 yards, something like that. But he's showing that he's back. He's showing that he's going to be the starter and he's going to get more carries and he's going to become the workhorse a little more. So any fears that we had at the beginning after that first game with Zach Moss, I think we could push him to the side just a tad bit. But they're still splitting the carries there for the most part. But we're talking about the carousel. We're talking about quarterbacks changing. It's tough in Cleveland, even though they got that win. Deshaun Watson, I believe, exited again with a concussion. Was it?
No, it's his shoulder still. Yeah, no, now it's his shoulder.
I thought it was his concussion. Okay. So PJ Walker jumped in. He didn't flatter anybody either, only putting up 5 points. The star of this game, and
oh my God, the star of this game.
If you're talking about the star of the game, it's the defense, right? It's just that Cleveland defense throwing up 20 points.
Are you talking about the star of the game? Is the kicker?
Yeah, Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah. Yes, the kicker is putting up 22 points because that's a lot that was going on. He had 3 field goals for 50 plus, and in a lot of leagues, every field goal 50 plus is going to give you 5 points. So that's 15 points right there alone.
Crazy,
right? So that's if we're talking about we're talking about points matter. That's the start of the game because he got the love and he got he was accurate. Right?
Gave him every opportunity to win that game for him.
Yeah,
and he did, and the defense too. With the interception and the touchdown and the block and 3 fumble recoveries, 4 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. I mean, those are the defense. As we know, Cleveland's defense is good, but yes, the kicker is the guy that you want on this defense. I mean, on this Cleveland team.
Definitely got that game ball.
But I want to talk a little bit about we saw good plays from Jerome Ford, although he's hurt, and I guess Trav will give us a little bit of insight on that later on. But Jerome Ford did get hurt, but before he got hurt, he gave us 17 points, and Kareem Hunt coming in after gave us 15 points there. So they're running the ball here. We obviously see that. It's tough when you have that the quarterbacks going in and out, in and out, in and out. I think Watson has regressed tremendously, even besides the injury, but that's a whole other thing to talk about. The receivers here was tough as well. Nobody flattered. Nothing great happened there, but that's also, again, with the quarterback carousel that we're talking about over there in Cleveland. But yes, if you're looking at anybody and Hopkins is for whatever reason on the waiver wire, you're streaming him, pick them up because they looks like they're gonna. The more teams that can get in the area of scoring, and in this case, it's in the 50-yard around 50 yards that he can get a field goal accurately through there. Then you're good, man. 22 points ain't nothing small.
Get it where you can
from a kicker. Get what you can.
Get it where you can, bro. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah. Besides that, I mean, talk to us more about the other side of the ball with the Colts.
Yeah, I
mean, Kareem Hunt in my life.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt probably gonna get a spike now that Jerome Ford is dealing with something. But on the Colts side, Josh Downs, 6 targets, caught 5 of them for 125 yards and a touchdown. He's an exciting rookie. Maybe wasn't a priority draft in redraft leagues, but certainly someone people are going out of their way for in dynasty leagues. But nonetheless, it looks like he's here now. He might have arrived for all formats. It doesn't matter. He had a really good game and seems to have chemistry with Gardner Minshew. And our boy Michael Pittman kind of saved his week 7 game and performance with that 70-yard touchdown catch or 75-yard touchdown catch. 2 catches, 5 targets, the 83 yards of the touchdown. Before that, I mean, he had 1 catch for 8 yards. He was doing virtually nothing for you. So he got saved there. Again, touchdowns regressed to the means. Look, we'll talk about our boy Gabe Davis in the next game and understand what that means. But nothing too crazy other than the fact that Gardner Minshew was able to come in and still support a fantasy relevant offense in the way that Anthony Richardson seemed to be doing. So it doesn't look like you have to downgrade any Colts too tremendously.
Yeah, no. Minshew's a good enough quarterback, bro. So they could get something going. You could keep getting those points. Obviously, he showed he could get them the ball.
Yeah.
Minshew ain't look too bad, man. I mean, I understand he had 3 fumbles, which is bad, and an interception. At the end of the day, he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he's getting the guys the balls. He's getting the guy the ball. So good in my opinion. This game, and then now I want to see what's going to happen with Kareem Hunt. But if you're a Josh Downs owner, you're a happy person because it looks like he's going to get the work.
And we'll just say this real quick. If Kareem Hunt is available in your leagues, that's probably a waiver wire name to know right now. Just off the strength that Jerome Ford is going to probably miss at least a week, maybe even 2 with a low-grade high ankle sprain. We'll talk more about it later. But keep an eye on that Browns backfield because they're a team that wants to run the ball.
No, yeah, I agree. And as we go over a lot of these games, if there's a waiver wire input that we believe that's a good pickup and may be available in your league, we'll go ahead and mention it. Kareem Hunt may be available in some leagues. I think it was either 40 or 60, one of the 2 that he's rostered in some of these leagues. A lot of people did pick him up when Chubb went down. assuming that he was going to get picked up, and some people just left him if they had an extra spot on their bench. So he may not be available in every league, but there's a possibility he might be available in your league, and he's a good pickup now because we don't know how long Ford will be out, and Travel give us a little bit insight on that. Moving along to another exciting game, especially as a Jet fan, the Buffalo New England game. New England came and got the win and helped helped a little bit us Jets fans out. Yep. But we're not here to talk about any bias and Jet fans and this AFC East treachery. We're talking about fantasy points. And in this game, where was our fantasy points, Bruce?
Oh, and this game is on the Bills side, man. Even though they lost, they still had a lot of the points. Yeah. You got Josh Allen still cooking. James Cook looks like he's cooking.
Cook.
But Stephon Diggs still had a good game. Kind of average for Stephon Diggs, I would say. But one to point out on that side is Kincaid. Owners got to be happy because I believe Dawson Knox is out. So be looking forward to more Kincaid points in the future.
I mean, another it was name that may be available on the waiver wires as well.
Yeah. It was another National Tight Ends Day. So exactly. On that team. One that I like is Stevenson. Are we going to see more from Ramondre? Is this
that name
where we
me. I don't like
start
that name.
coming? I know. We shouldn't. It shouldn't, though. It shouldn't. I'm sure he's one of those.
At least he got good work as a pass catcher, at least.
Yeah. But he's one of those teams. Well, he could have a good week, right? They play Miami next, and Miami has had trouble with the running back position.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I picked ETN the ball out in London, because they've been having issues. The Dolphins balled out against Buffalo's run defense. Oh, that was Buffalo. I got it backwards. Take it back. I'm talking about Buffalo. But no, anybody does every running back. If you got a running back going against Buffalo, you should be starting them. Basically it. But he needs to be doing better, man. I need more from him. I don't even own him in any league. I just want to see Ramondre be Ramondre.
I think the frustrating part is Ezekiel Elliott out carry, and they won this game too, right? But Ezekiel Elliott is getting more carries than Ramondre as of this week, 11 carries compared to Ramondre's 9. And Ramondre made up for it. Yeah, exactly. And Ramondre made up for it as a pass catcher this week. 6 catches for 51 yards. That's good enough for like 11.1 points in itself right there. But you just want to see more carries for Ramondre because he's a beast with the ball in his hands. It doesn't make sense that he had such low rushing numbers. Now, something that I want to talk about, because it's something that I mentioned a couple episodes ago, and it's going to be on the Buffalo Bills side. And it was that I did not think Gabe Davis was going to keep up that touchdown production that he was seeing. And I'm not letting this one go because, I mean, he caught a touchdown in week 3 against the Commanders. That's awesome. But that was his one catch on 4 targets for 35 yards. Next week against Miami, caught a touchdown, but he only had 3 targets. Next week against Jacksonville, okay, good. 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. That's a good performance. That's one where you see your guy got 8 targets, caught 6 of them, 100 yards, and a touchdown. You're like, all right, I can start that. But to go based off him catching touchdowns in these games where he's just getting 3 targets, that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable stuff. And now we see with these last 2 weeks, when Gabe Davis doesn't get a touchdown, 3 points against the Giants, 1.6 against the Patriots, not even cracking the top 80 in fantasy production for wide receivers. So there was a lot of overreaction to him putting together 4 pretty good games in a row in which he caught a touchdown in all 4. That's not sustainable. And that was something we try to warn you about earlier. And it's here now. So now we're looking at Gabe Davis, who went from a must start to a guy that you're forcing your hand if you need to start him, because it just doesn't make sense after getting only 4 points total in 2 games.
Yeah, and I think it's important to look at that this past game where he put up his lowest score of the season at 1.60. He was on the field 96% of the time for the offensive plays, which is the most he's been on the field all year, and he still was unable to. I mean, yes, it was a tough game. And listen, I know a lot of people, you see this Patriots team, and they were 1-5, and you see all the woes, and is Mac Jones good enough? This is another team. with a good defense. People don't forget that when they played the Dolphins, yes, they lost, but they held the Dolphins at bay as well. With a lot of their points that they were throwing up 70 points on Denver and stuff like this. So this is a good defense. So yes, Gabe Davis, I agree. The regression because he wasn't seeing a lot of targets. He was just getting the touchdowns, and the touchdown saved them. But that's tough when you're playing good defenses. And they still got to play the Jets again. They're going to see a couple other good defenses before anything gets any better, especially Buffalo looking kind of rough right now.
Yeah. And something I want to mention real quick. I've been having a hard time with understanding what's more important to me as a fantasy manager. Is it snap percentage or is it the targets? Because like you said, he played 96% of the snaps the most of the year, and you would want a player that plays in 96% of their team snaps.
Right, you want him on the field, yeah.
Exactly. And then here it says that he was targeted 5 times, but I watched some of that game, and 2 of those targets were not actually targets for Gabe Davis. They were thrown in the stands because Josh Allen was throwing the ball away, and he was credited the target because he was the closest receiver. So we're talking about catchable passes. He was really only targeted like 3 times. So Gabe Davis is a player I've always wanted to stay away from, and it's for reasons like this. You never know when to start him, and when you do, he's going to do this to you, and when you don't, he's going to do what he did in weeks 3 through 5.
Yeah, it just sucks because I own him, so it's like it's a realization, right? When you see this guy, and you're just like, I think I just gotta hang it up with you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's not the star over there. So if you were playing him, you were flexing him, or you were really hurting a receiver. He's not the star over there.
Exactly.
But I agree. Take it from us here at the RDL podcast. I don't think any of us here have a lot of faith in Mr. Gabe Davis, and we think the woes will continue. We went over the defense. I mean, we went over the tight ends. Did we talk about Cook?
We kind of brushed over his performance.
I brushed over him.
Okay. I mean, let's just bring up those stats for you guys. 13 carries, 56 yards. He had 3 receptions, 46 yards with a tutty. Putting him at 19.20 points. Once again, a lot of the love, a lot of targets were actually going to Diggs, but Josh Allen was doing a lot for himself, putting up 24.30 points. Another high passing game with 41 passes, only completing 27 of those. He had 2 tutties. 1 interception and 1 lost fumble. Josh Allen's another one that, even though he's putting up the points, he scares me on a week-to-week basis because I just don't know what to expect from him. But yes, he's putting up the points. I don't know if this is going to continue with a high point value because he's going to play a couple other difficult teams. They do have Denver still to come up, so keep that on your fantasy punching bag list there. But they see the Jets. They see Jets again. They see Philly. They're going to see Miami at the end of the year, and we always know when they play in Miami, they're not very good. So just pay attention to Josh Allen. I have a bad, not just because I'm a Jet fan, I just have a bad feeling that something good is not coming with Josh Allen.
Hey, man, Bills Mafia. Stop disrespecting.
No disrespect. If we're going to disrespect, we'll disrespect the only team in New York that's trash. And we're talking about the New York Giants against Washington this week. They did get the win. Get the win, but it wasn't all butterflies and sunshine and rainbows for them. Waller being the guy over there again, as you projected, Bruce, talking about Waller. 8 receptions, 98 yards at a tutty, putting up 22 points. Viable tight end on National Tight End Week, giving us the points, giving us what we like to see. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about Tyrod Taylor a bit. Is this sustainable? What are we doing here? When does Daniel Jones come back? What's going on?
Go ahead, Trav. When does Daniel Jones come back? Because that's a question I have anyway.
Well, they were saying that they were cautiously optimistic that Daniel Jones could make his return this week against the Jets, but the team is responding well to Tyrod Taylor, and he's playing well. He's playing better than Daniel Jones has at any point this season right now. He's kept them in a close game with Buffalo, got the win against Washington. They're not doing anything special on offense. They're certainly not putting up a lot of points, but Tyrod in his own right finished as the quarterback 7 this week, which is good for fantasy, especially if you needed to stream somebody. But he's doing something that Daniel Jones kind of struggled to do throughout his time as the starter early in the season, and that's get Darren Waller the ball in good situations, not just throwing it in his direction and having a target checked off in the box. No, these are catchable passes, and it was a touchdown for Darren Waller, who put up 22.80 fantasy points. So on the Daniel Jones front, they think he could come back this week. Did Tyrod Taylor make it a little more difficult? Maybe, yeah. Maybe now they're in a spot where they're like, we could probably let Daniel rest a little more, and we'll go with Tyrod again.
I feel like, the way you said it, I think they're just gonna hold him out this week, and then probably play Tyrod, however you want to say it. And, but he's proven to be able to spread the ball. Like he's showing he could get the ball out, spread it amongst the players. He could rush. Daniel Jones used to rush. He could rush too. I honestly just feel like the players might be rallying behind him a little bit right now.
Yeah,
because he's just been looking comfortable in the pocket, and when he needs to get out, he gets out. And before that, Daniel Jones just getting pelted. I don't even know if his O-line was playing for him, but it just feels like the team is rallying around another quarterback, in which I'm starting to question if Tyrod, do you pick him up and start him now? It's a good question. I mean, Saquon's looking good, so he has that going for him. He has Waller. He's obviously saying he could get show that he could get Waller the ball in good situations, and he's spreading the ball around.
Yeah,
like Hyatt had 9 points. He had 5 targets. He brought 2 of those in for 75 yards. It's not bad. And just it's the first time you heard Slayton's name mentioned in a while. Shepard, even though he fumbled, he still so he spread the ball to everybody in the team basically. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And if you look at numbers weeks prior, guys weren't doing too good with Daniel Jones there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Something to look at as well. If Daniel Jones continues to be out, Tyrod Taylor could be a streaming quarterback option for you if you have somebody on a buy. He seems to be making do of what the opportunity he's getting over there.
And then another thing, I mean, they don't have many of the best matchups, but this defense looks like it's just coming alive too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're playing solid.
They're starting to play solid during as the weeks go by. And they have a week 13 bye. So they have, I don't know about the Jets. I don't know how they're going to play against the Jets, because the Jets, we don't know what kind of Jets we're getting this week.
Right.
We're all hoping that they're still riding high, but they could be slammed down to reality and have another bad game if their defense is good enough, the Giants defense.
No, certainly.
And it's a New York rivalry. I think the Jets win.
There's no way the Jets lose this game. It's not a trap. I don't trust it.
I just think history
we have to win.
Yeah, I think history has it that the Jets just, I don't know. The Giants have a rough time with the Jets for some reason.
Yeah, man. It's that Snoopy bowl for you. We brushed over Barkley, did we?
He's back, man. He's in good form, dude. Great form.
Yeah, man.
Great
form. Looking good. Carried the ball 21 times. That's huge for a running back position. 77 yards, 4 looks with 3 catches for 41 yards. He did lose a fumble, but the tutty definitely helped that as well. 18.80 points. Saquon Barkley, he's back. He's playing well. Nothing to worry about
didn't bother him too bad. He's good. Good. I want
to talk a little bit about the other side of the ball and Sam Howell, who's been playing pretty well, but fantasy wise, we saw a pretty bad performance this week. Only putting up 9 points, staying under the double digits when he was projected to score approximately 14 points. He's throwing the ball a lot. That's what I noticed on a week-to-week basis. He's throwing the ball a lot. Another week, he's throwing the ball 42 times. He only completed half of those. So I give it a little bit to the Giants defense, as Bruce was talking about. But a poor performance here. See somebody streaming Austin in deep leagues and in superflex leagues. He could be in your superflex position. So I wouldn't worry too much about this, because once again, when we talk about value, he's throwing the ball a lot. He's throwing the ball
from behind all the time. So.
Yeah, I mean, he has 2 games against Philly. He threw it 41 times. Against Chicago, he threw it 51 times. And this past week, 42 times. Besides that, all the other ones are still up there for a quarterback. So, yes, what do you have when we have a quarterback that throws a lot? You have an opportunity for great things to happen, but also an opportunity for mistakes to happen. And this week, it was more on the mistake end.
Yeah. I'd rather have him than Derek Carr right now.
That
Just being honest.
no, it's certainly a conversation. That's the sad part.
Yeah. That's the crazy part.
I just want to touch on these Washington running backs real quick because I own both of them in Dynasty. Brian Robinson, 8 carries, 23 yards. The touchdown salvaged his performance. I mean, outside of that, literally, like outside of that, I mean, he started off the season very hot, was a top 5 back throughout the first 4 weeks, but now it's just fizzing out. I mean, 8.3 against Chicago, 13.6 against Atlanta, which, okay, fine. And then 8.3 again. He's got, in 2 of his last 3 games, he's finished outside the top 24 RBs, which top 24 in 12-man leagues is what we consider an RB2. So now he's finishing outside of that. So now he's a low-end flex play, high-end RB3. That's not enough. We need to see more from a team that should want to run the ball more to protect Sam Howell a little bit, who is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL by far. He is getting absolutely smoked out there. I don't have the exact number, but I think through these 7 games, he's been sacked north of 45 times. So he's getting absolutely crushed out there. These running backs right now, especially with the matchup this week against Philadelphia, if you can put Brian Robinson on the bench, like I'm fortunate enough to do in one league, do it, because this is not a good matchup against Philadelphia coming up.
Unless you got Bijan and you won't know if he's starting.
Yeah, unless Bijan catches a headache.
Right. So it's a good segue when we talk about B. Robinson on one team. Let's go to the B. Robinson on another team and how much he hurt the souls of fantasy teams this week, because obviously he was starting. There was no reports of any injury, any and I'm not saying this jokingly, any mental health, any injury, any sickness. There was reports of nothing. We put him out there,
dude.
We put him out there. We started him. Some people started him in daily. If you had him on your squad, you started him for sure. He gave you 0.30 points. He had 1 attempt for 3 yards. We talk about snap percentage, 17%. And I'll move this back to you, Trav, because you have the injury report. I guess this is an injury.
I wasn't going to mention it. I was just going to make a joke about how I wasn't feeling well before we did the show. I had a headache on my own, but I showed up for my team, damn it. You know what I mean? No, all jokes aside, hopefully Bijan's feeling better now. But the thing I don't understand is that 1 carry for 3 yards came with like seconds left in the game. So it's like he was still getting snaps. They were doing play action in his direction and then throwing screens to Caden Smith.
Ever, bro.
Yeah, but like, why is he coming in at the end of the game for a carry? For like, dude, just what was that about? Like, we're trolling here.
I could be wrong, but I think there might be a rule in the NFL stating that if they didn't report him on the injury report or something like that, and then they come out afterwards, they say, "Hey, he was hurt, he was sick." They get pow. So they're like, "Hey,
they're getting investigated.
Go carry it." Yeah, they are. So they're like, "Hey, go carry the ball once." So we can show that, hey, you weren't injured, but you just weren't feeling well,
Yeah. Just unfortunate for fantasy owners, especially because that's your first round pick, and he just disappeared on you out of nowhere. Without a word.
I just feel like that was, you had a hangover, bro, or what? What happened? Because like you can't just tell me, "Oh, I tried to take something for it and it didn't help," and it was just like, Tylenol, motherfucker. Tylenol.
Hey, tell him Jordan played with the flu. I don't want to hear it.
I was like, I don't want to hear it. Michael Jordan, bro. Damn sure Michael Jordan. Don't ever compare yourself to Mike. You can't go on a whole can't come into the game hungover.
Yeah, man. In his lack of performance, or his lack of play rather, Algier got 14.20 with 21 carries. That's usually stuff we see from Robinson. So he may do. Algier once again was probably if somebody was struggling at running back or on a flex spot. So congratulations to you. If you threw him in your flex saying, "Oh, I hope something's gonna happen," guess what? It happened. So congratulations to your team. Ritter still not being to his full potential. He did outscore his projections because he was projected pretty low because of his past performances with 13.80 points, but still he lost the ball 3 times, fumble wise, not interception. He only had 1 tutty. It's tough over there. The running backs are getting the love. There's not much going on for Pitts, for Jonnu Smith, for London. There's not much going on, and it's a tough offense to have. If it's not Bijan, it's tough to have anybody starting this week. I know I make that joke because Bijan didn't play at all, so it was just tough. It was rough all around. They did get the win for the team, but
that's the worst. Like that's the worst thing that can happen to any fantasy owner, though.
Yeah,
Your player just where is he?
How dare he?
It's almost a little more aggravating than when Antonio Brown just straight up mid game during championship week of fantasy on my uncle straight up said, you know what? I don't want to play no more. The Jets are better than me. I don't want to do it. I mean, it's just unfortunate. But to get back to like the fantasy aspect of this, I want to touch on a couple things. One is, and it's going to be on the Buck side a bit. Mike Evans is having a damn good year. He continues that with 6 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Godwin, a target merchant, 12 targets, 6 catches, 66 yards. It's not a crazy game with 12.6, but certainly something that you're okay with in your flex.
Right.
And then a player for me that I was kind of high on coming into this year because of his pass catching ability was Rachaad White. And he's been extremely inefficient as a running back, as a rusher. But as a pass catcher, 6 catches, 65 yards, that's 12.5 fantasy points right there. That's where we knew Rachaad White was going to make his living. In the most discounted Alvin Kamara version possible. Inefficient on the ground, but pretty damn good through the air. And Rachaad was able to get almost 16 points, 15.9 in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. So Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield supporting some good fantasy options over there right now.
Yeah. I'm surprised with the Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's been keeping it together. So, he's been doing good enough. I mean, they lost, yes. They're 3-3, yes, but
way more competitive.
Giving them a shot to win. So
nothing incredible, but like Trav mentioned, he's getting these receivers. We're going back to fantasy aspects of these things. He's getting the receivers the ball. 8 targets for Evans, like you said, 12 for Godwin. I have Godwin on a team, and he sat on my bench just because I got a lot of other options there. But it's good to look at because he's getting the ball. When the year started, we were kind of worried about it, like, oh, what's going to happen if we're going to get a lot of love for our receivers, for our guys. And listen, we're going into week 8, and he's showing that he's able to get the ball to receivers. So whether it's Evans, whether it's Godwin's, they're good starts. Godwin in your flex spot as well.
It's crazy. Mike Evans is quarterback proof.
Yeah. He needs to make his way to the Jets next year.
Hall of Famer.
Anything else with that game, guys? I mean, it was it wasn't that exciting. The most exciting thing was that Bijan didn't play, and I know it sucks for some people, but it was like, what's going on?
It's not exciting at all. That's like heartbreaking.
Whenever I don't see my player on the field, the first thing I do is go to Twitter and I type that name in. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? I'm seeing some of the tweets are like, where is he? What's happening? What's going on? It was like
Arthur Smith.
It was the final days. It was like the final days. They're like,
yeah,
but
looking for Arthur Smith. Oh my God.
Let's move along to this game of the birds. We have the Arizona Cardinals and the
this game was for the birds.
This game for the birds.
Listen, I want to talk about this. Ricardo, a lot of people dropped him after picking him up. He was very hot waiver claim last week. And a lot of people dropped him because he didn't get the love. This week, he got the love, and it kind of hurt Trav because we saw the difference. So I had Ricardo. I dropped him because I needed a quarterback. I ended up picking up Dobbs. We'll talk about that recently. Trav on the other end, he's like, Ricardo's not getting the love. Let me start Ingram.
Yeah.
What a shit show.
What
a shit show.
My running back situation is we can do an entire hour-long episode on that, so we won't touch into it too much. But I just don't understand the complete inactivity from Keontae Ingram. It's not like Amari DiMercato is a superstar that warrants getting all the touches out of the backfield. But is he good? Yeah, definitely serviceable with 11.5 fantasy points. But I mean, you're starting one of those, like, gun to your head, Arizona Cardinals running back is the only way you're putting one of them in, honestly. The more surprising thing for me is Josh Dobbs somehow had a pretty solid game. He ran in for the touchdown, which certainly boosts up his stats. But none of these pass catchers were able to crack even 8 points. Even Hollywood Brown, just under 8 with 7.9. But just really a game where Josh Dobbs couldn't support anybody for fantasy relevance this week. And then on the other side, hello, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Finally had the breakout game. And how about the Boo Bobo? Jake Bobo. One of the craziest touchdown catches you'll see all year. I don't know how he got his feet in bounds, but he got 16.10. JSN got 16.3. Kenny Walker, 26 carries, which is great. We love to see that, but only 13.10 fantasy points on those carries. So just some excitement there with JSN in Seattle. Ken Walker getting the usage, and Geno threw the interception, so it hurt his day. Only 13.76 points, but another game where there's just not that much to talk about. Low scoring.
Not much to talk about. I mean, we saw the love for these other receivers because of DK Metcalf being out. But we thought JSN was going to be more of what he showed in this game because he was a good receiver in college. DK Metcalf, I let him show some of his moves, but that Bobo catch was incredible. It was a nice catch. Even the commentators looking back and like, nah, he didn't get that in. Nah, he got it in. It was real nice. It was real sexy like. But yeah, once again, as you spoke about Dobbs, I picked him up last minute. I was having quarterback issues because I only had one quarterback and it was Burrow. I picked up Dobbs last minute and it helped me out. But I want to talk about something about Demercado. Don't feel bad about Demercado because basically what's going on there is that Demercado has 58 yards, 13 carries, but he was only projected 4 points. So even the analysts thought that he was going to do bad, is what I'm trying to get at. Even the analysts for these major websites thought he was going to do bad, and he ended up getting all the carries. So don't feel bad if that wasn't you.
Yeah. Not much to talk about in that one. It was a very low scoring affair. Not much excitement outside of JSN finally popping off. I feel comfortable in moving on to the Steelers and the Rams because I want to talk about some fun stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about some fun stuff. Like, I want to know, is Darrell Henderson going to be viable in upcoming weeks?
Well, for me, my opinion on Darrell Henderson is I chose him over Royce Freeman because, yes, Royce was the one that's kind of been with the team throughout the year, and Darrell Henderson, they just picked back up off the street. But he was with the Rams for so many years, with Sean McVay for so many years. And the key thing that always stood out with Darrell Henderson was his willingness to pass block. And I know that that's what Sean McVay loves. That's why Kyron Williams is on the field all the time, because he is a willing pass blocker. So that's what made me stick with Darrell Henderson. And he turned in a good performance, 61 yards on 18 carries. So he got more carries than Royce Freeman. Didn't get more yards, just by 5, but it's worth noting that Royce was more efficient as a runner. But then Darrell also got the touchdown, and it was good enough for 13.6 fantasy points. I do think moving forward, Darrell's the one that you want. But if you're a Kyron owner and you picked up Darrell Henderson, you don't want Darrell Henderson to do too good moving forward because it will hurt Kyron Williams' stock and value in fantasy because he was just absolutely phenomenal. If another running back comes in and does what he's doing, what's the incentive to going back to Kyron? So we kind of hope Darrell does good enough, but nothing too crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's when I saw Royce Freeman carry the ball, I was excited about that because I just like the old Royce Freeman that we used to know. But he did have 12 carries. It's not chump change. It's not chump change. But there's a lot else going on in that Rams offense, right?
Yeah.
Puka Nacua, man, continuing to just ball the hell out. 12 targets for 8 receptions, 154 yards for 23 points. He is the guy over there, man. He had one bad week last week for 6 points, but that switched with Cup this week when he put up 6 points. Yeah, man, he's the guy. And this was a little bit of my worry. I got lucky that I was playing the worst team in the league in my league, and I had Cup. No, I'm joking. No, but it's true.
No joking. That's factual.
It's a little bit of my worry that I had here. Because they're able to call it 6. They are. We see it in past weeks. Mm-hmm. But these games scare me because me as a Cup owner, I need him. I need him to give me 19, 20 points a game. I need it. And I can't afford this. He's never going to sit on my bench, which is my point. I can't afford this for a 6-7 point game in upcoming weeks. So, but if you're an Nacua fan, you're still loving it. You're still starting him. He might be in your receiver 1 spot. Who knows?
At this point.
He's that freaking good, man. He's that good. But continue on the receivers. I want to talk about Deontay Johnson a little bit. He came back. He looked good. He saw his targets. He outscored his projection. I like it. He was on my IR for a while. So I have receiver issues, but I don't have receiver issues. My receiver problems that I got, for example, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, I also have Kirk. I have Godwin. So it's like it's tough there because they're all good enough, but it's hard to know who I'm going to place where. But it's good to see Deontay Johnson come back and put up those points. I think that's going to continue. Pickens did get a lot of the love this week, but it was a high scoring, not a high scoring, a high throwing game over there in the Rams versus Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. George Pickens, 107 yards, good enough for 15.7 fantasy points. So like you said, Deontay Johnson came back, had a good first game back. He's always been a target and reception monster over there.
Right.
He went the entire year last year without a touchdown, and now because of his injury, he's also gone the majority of this year without a touchdown. So we're just waiting for that touchdown for Deontay because he literally hasn't gotten one in a season and a half at this point. So Deontay, to do this without a touchdown, it's a good sign. Hopefully he can get in the end zone soon. He's
still going to be on my bench until he proves himself to me. But
how do you guys feel about Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren's situation though? That one there, exactly. That's it. That was good enough.
It's a trap. It's a trap. And listen, I get upset about this. I'm not going to say what league it's in, but after this Najee Harris performance, a trade went out and it was accepted. Najee Harris for Dallas Goedert. What do you guys feel about that? Let's talk about that very quick. Najee Harris with just one solid game, pretty much just one solid game all year, and giving up for Goddard.
I can certainly understand it because Dallas Goedert's a good tight end, but he's also the third option in that offense, and he was just the beneficiary of tight end week, National Tight End Week. But all jokes aside, running back is so depleted, and tight end is a position that most are more comfortable with streaming anyway. I mean, I could care less. Like, I don't think the world of Najee Harris. I also don't think the world of Dallas Goedert. So whatever your team needs, I mean,
what week did the trade happen? Because I don't know.
It just got accepted just after this game.
Oh, just now.
So basically, he said, "Look, Najee Harris is back." That's how I feel.
Yeah,
he's like, Najee Harris is back. Look at him, he's back.
And
we got 5-point game, 5-point game, 6-point game, 11-point game, 5-point game, 15-point game from Najee Harris. I'm not doing it. I'm getting more points on my tight end over there. I'm sorry.
No, I would rather Dallas Goedert for sure. But at the same time, I understand injuries happen. Whatever your situation is different. Right. And I'm 100% on board with getting Najee off your hands. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think the vitality of both players is there, right? So you don't know what we're gonna get each week. So I think that's where it evens out because it's just what's gonna happen this week, what's gonna happen next week. With especially the thing is, I'll be happy with Dallas Goedert because he's turning out to be the tight end over there.
Right.
But I'll be a little pressed. You know, I would feel away with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren fighting for those touches.
Yeah. Right. Agreed.
So
agreed. Let's move along to a trash game. We'll go over this game very slightly because there wasn't much fantasy value there. Let's talk about Denver and Green Bay. Denver getting a win. Yay for them, I guess. But there was no fantasy value anywhere. I mean, you had Sutton with catching all his targets, and as Judy caught all his targets as well. But once again, it is not sustainable. This offense is bad. This defense is bad. I'm not touching it.
Yeah. I'm more upset with Green Bay because
I was gonna say
this was the spot to. You're coming off the bye week. That's the most important thing. You're coming off the bye week, and you came out absolutely flat against one of the worst defensive units in the league. Nobody did anything of note. I mean, I had three people with 11.
I could have predicted that.
Yeah, like AJ Dillon, 11 points. Aaron Jones still only getting 8 carries. If he's good enough for 8 carries, he's good enough for 20 carries. Give him the freaking ball. Like
this team,
Dobbs dropped the pass, right? Romeo.
Dobbs dropped a touchdown. That would have been his second touchdown, and it fell in the hands of Jaden Reed.
Oh yeah.
Like they're scoring on accident, and it's still not good enough. So I don't know what to say with Green Bay. I'd rather just talk about Denver for a little bit because the Green Bay side is dead to me right now.
I mean,
my point exactly is that we haven't talked about either of these teams much unless they're on the shit end of things.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect much out of this game. I didn't expect Denver to win because I really think they're a bad team, like a very, very bad team. But they sneaked out the win. They snuck out the win. But let's talk about, like you said, let's talk about Denver a little bit. And let's talk about the good parts of it that may have been a little bit of an issue, like McLaughlin, Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams put it up 12 points, but we're kind of expecting more from him at this point, you know?
Yeah, I'm just happy that he's getting the carries again. 15 carries, 82 yards. Like, this should be his backfield. He's the most talented running back over there. Only 53% of the snaps. I need that number to continue going up for me to feel comfortable about starting
Right.
him. But again, back-to-back weeks where he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. He's starting to get his legs underneath him again, coming back from that injury. So I do think we could see a strong second half of the season for Javonte Williams.
It's just tough, man. I don't want to touch anybody on these teams.
Yeah, like Javonte Williams should be the top. It's the way the order is right now is perfect. Like, you got Javonte, Perrine, McLaughlin, and week to week it could switch from Perrine to McLaughlin. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. But I think right now Denver is just trying anything. So if you do the most with the carries we give you, good luck. I think the only person that should feel confident right now is if you're a Cortland Sutton owner, because he seems to be a lot of that offense right now.
Yeah.
Which sucks for like a Judy owner, because you would think Judy be the guy, but he's just not. It's just not turning out that way. And not taking nothing away from Cortland Sutton, but you would think Jerry Judy be the guy, in a sense that I think this is the last ditch hope for Jerry Judy, right? I think every year we're hoping Jerry Judy is going to be the wide receiver that we expect him to be. I don't know if that's just, I don't think it's there for him.
Yeah, not right now. Certainly not with Denver. A name that's been popping up at the trade deadline. We'll see if he gets moved.
Again, almost a kicker carrying the team with the points on that one.
I don't like it. I don't want to talk about
fantasy.
it anymore.
Yeah. I agree. Don't worry.
It hurts. It hurts.
Right along.
I feel nauseous.
The one person that we know is going to ball out on tight ends day.
Tight ends day. Mr. Pfizer.
Yeah.
Mr. Swift. The man. The legend.
Got a handshake, bro.
Yeah, you saw that?
The wife's got a handshake.
We're talking about the number one fantasy point scorer of week 7, Travis Kelce. 13 12 receptions, almost breaking the record for tight end yardage, 179 yards at a tutty. I mean,
there's not much to say. I mean, it was so obvious that during National Tight Ends Day that he would be the face of all things tight end.
Right.
And I mean, he was already, we know him for being the greatest tight end in the sport, but just a dominant performance against the Chargers team that, has high expectations, but just year in and year out cannot fulfill those expectations. A disappointing day all around for every Charger not named Joshua Palmer, in my opinion. Even Keenan Allen, only 4 catches for 55 yards on 9 targets. I mean, Rashee Rice outscored him. Marquez Valdez-Scantling outscored him. Just a weird Chargers game and a typical Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Typical for sure. Pacheco showing that love as well.
Yeah, no, Pacheco balling out. Pacheco's the RB1, and he's an actual. We actually have a RB1 in the Chiefs, where you're not worried if you should start CEH or if you should start McKinnon. It looks like you really got to face an identity to that running game. Yeah, and like something I want to point out is this is the type of games that we would like to see from Kelce and Mahomes, right?
Yeah,
this is what we expect. I'm pretty sure a lot of people see Mahomes' floor as 25 points minimum, right? Yeah. And so like this is the type of stuff that we would expect and we hope to see on a week to week. So we know Kelce's gonna get, he's gonna get a lot of the targets, but something that for me is on an upswing is the receivers end as well.
Yeah.
And for me, it's Rashee Rice. I think week to week, Rashee Rice is showing a little bit more consistency lately in the passing game. So I feel like he's a for sure start if you got him, and you probably got him late.
Yeah, for sure you got him late.
The Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I don't know, but I am keeping an eye on the fact that Rashee Rice is starting to become a vocal point of that wide receiving core, which is good.
Yeah, I like Rashee way more than MVS at this point. MVS, I mean, this is his first game over 7, but he's only got 1 game over 5 before this game, so he's not startable at all. I mean, interesting name now that he finally popped off, but I don't think that that's likely to continue. I do think with Rashee Rice, that's something that we'll see more of going down the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's been showing a lot of consistency over there with this wide receiver core. I mean, because you got Miko Hartman back over there. I don't know if that's something that they're expecting production from. I think they just wanted to bring him in.
Yeah.
I think it was more so bring him in. Come and get a ring, big fella. Get another one. Hopefully, we'll see. Because if the Niners don't start panning out again, it's gonna be bad. But yeah, no, I want to talk about like what's up with Eckler.
Yeah, coming off the high ankle sprain. Well, we've known that player performance dips when they come off the high ankle sprain. I think the encouraging thing is that he saw 14 carries, only made 45 yards out of it. But the most concerning thing is 2 targets. That's not how Eckler makes his living. Eckler makes his living as a pass catcher. He's not the biggest running back. He's not the strongest running back. He's a pass catching running back. He is a weapon, and he's not being utilized as such. So right now, it's definitely cause for concern with Austin Eckler coming off back-to-back kind of duds. I mean, 10 points against Dallas. Dallas is a tough defense. It was his first week back, but you're expecting more than 10. So hopefully, pretty interesting schedule coming up. Bears, Jets, Lions, Packers. And I mean, when I look at his schedule on Sleeper, I see a bunch of green coming up. So maybe there's a chance Austin Eckler can turn it around this year for you.
Yeah, man. With a name like that, when I mean the oomph behind his name and the player that he should be, it's tough seeing that. But I just want to talk about before we move away from this game is the top 2 of the top 3 players of the week fantasy wise were from this Kansas City team. So this Kansas City team, everybody was like, what are we seeing? Where's the ball gonna go? Obviously, no more Tyreek, even though they won a championship without Tyreek. Pacheco, we already said it. He's gonna be the star back there. But 33.86 points from Mahomes. He went off 424 yards, 4 tutties. He's doing Mahomes things, man. He's doing Mahomes things. Yeah. And like I said, him and Kelsey made do of their excellent national tight end week. He gave his love to Kelsey. Swift was in the stands. It's good for them. It's good to be a Kansas City Chief fan. And if you have Kansas City Chief fan, if you have Kelsey on your team, you're not giving him up. So
yeah. Nope. I
want to talk about this next game. Makes me excited.
I know.
That you do.
Because they are who I thought they were.
We got to see, man. We got to see.
What are we seeing? Go ahead. I want to hear this. What are we seeing?
No, I mean, we got to see if this could continue. I don't think we're gonna keep seeing a downtrend on Tua and the Dolphins, bro. There's no way. Maybe they could lose the games, but fantasy wise, I don't think there's downsides to this offense, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my piece, and then we'll give the floor to Kevin because I know he's dying to get off his takes about this one. For guys like Raheem Mostert, we knew that this matchup was a tough one against the Philadelphia run defense. This is a team that had Breece Hall in a box, only averaging 3 yards a carry up until he got the touchdown that they let him score. So they are not a running back friendly matchup in Philadelphia. Tyreek Hill, 11 catches, but kind of bottled for only 88 yards. Did get the touchdown, though, on an impressive win downfield over James Bradbury. And Philadelphia, I mean, A.J. Brown, I think it's fair to say, maybe top 1 in the game right now. Just an absolute beast. Dallas Goedert. Again, he closed out Sunday's National Tight End Day with a bang. 5 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Kevin, talk to us about Miami, man. What are you seeing?
They're calling. Potential
Is that fraud watch? Oh, no.
No, man. Listen, okay. Let me get this off my chest. This team hasn't played any good teams. The teams that they played that are good, they've lost to. And they're losing by a good amount of points. It's not close games. I'm going to leave that right there as a team. But fantasy-wise, I agree with you, Bruce. We're not I mean, Tyreek Hill, yes. In game aspect, when we look at stats, he was bottled up, right? 88 yards. But when we talk about value, we talk about fantasy, he still remains one of our top guys because he got looked at 15 times, caught the ball 11 of those times, and he had the tutty. Absolutely. This is going to continue. Don't worry. Don't be scared. It's going to continue. Jalen Waddle showing that he can coexist with Hill over there. He caught all of his targets for 63 yards at 12 points. Now, listen, I did watch the highlights. I didn't watch the game live. I was attending a concert that night, but I watched the highlights. Yes, there was a lot of missed calls. There's a lot of penalties. So, yes, Dolphin fans, you got gypped. So did the Jets against Kansas City. It happens. It is what it is. It sucks, but it is what it is. But Mostert, that was tough for me. Yes, they did bottle up. We know this run defense in Philly is good, but Mostert, that was tough for me because we expect from him so much because he's been giving us so much on a weekly basis. So that was tough. These Mostert lost some people some leagues, because he's usually giving you, we're expecting 20 points, 15 points, 18 points from this guy. So he lost some people some leagues, but this the main part is the point system you didn't get from Tua. Tua only gave you 10.34 points. He had an interception, and he only had one touchdown. This is not normal for Tua, who's been going off. I mean, getting the ball in the end zone as much as possible. So yes, fantasy wise, don't be scared with the Dolphins. They're still fantasy gold, as we said earlier in the year. Yeah. This is going to continue. You're going to keep getting that leverage. Some people have wrote to me on some platforms talking that the talks I talk about on this podcast, saying that I talk about the Dolphins and them being bad and not being a good team because they haven't played anybody good. I just want to reiterate now that it's more proving my point, and I said it on this podcast that they will come out of this stretch 1-2, plain and simple. They're gonna cut, and all the Dolphins fans are like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Super Bowl." Listen, you are who I thought you are, and until you beat a good team, I'm not gonna trust it. Simple.
Devontae Smith has been nuked from fantasy. I'm tired of talking about the Dolphins. AJ Brown and his little situation on the sideline that one night with Jalen Hurts, where it seems like that's what turned AJ Brown's season around, has completely nuked Devontae Smith's value. 3 straight weeks under 10 points. Hoping for a bounce back spot here against Washington, but not looking forward to it because AJ Brown's probably just going to dominate again, which great for him. But man, Smitty, I was so high on Smitty this year, and it hasn't worked out at all. So that's a tough one, but we'll see. Yeah. Hopefully, there's a get right game for him coming up.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy though.
It's tough because that AJ Brown has so much love. That's the problem, right? AJ Brown, so much love. Jalen Hurts still doing Jalen Hurts things. He's a good quarterback. The running back room still scares me over there. I know Swift's getting majority of the carries, but it still scares me on a game in and game out basis. We spoke about Goddard a little bit earlier. He put up good points against this Miami defense. But what were you gonna say, Bruce?
No, I was looking at last year's stats, and they were coexisting. So I just it's kind of crazy. Like, yeah, are you not like these quarterbacks? What are they thinking? Like, it's just different, and that's it. You give up the ball.
Yeah,
they get into arguments with their wide receivers. I get it. I get this the whole star complex, like, or just even feeling. Even he just probably feels like he's dominating. Like, yo, I am open. Like, they can't hold me. Like, it's just some of these wide receivers are like that. Yo, they can't hold me. I'm open all the time. Obviously, Jamar Chase is like that. Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson is going to be one of those. Like, Garrett Wilson is one of those. So it's like when they complain, they're going to get the ball. They're going to get the targets. But somebody like Devontae Smith should be getting the ball too.
Yeah, somebody else that can't be guarded, at least that's what it looked like last night, was your boy Jordan Addison against the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football.
Did we talk about how bad the Dolphins are before we move on?
Great in separation. Oh, man.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Your own family is going to go crazy on you once they finally hear this. But just a hell of a performance from our boy Jordan Addison last night. Superstar levels. Monday Night Football, you decide to have your breakout against one of the top defenses in the league. 31.3 fantasy points, 7 catches for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Could have had 2 more if Kirk Cousins would have just put the ball where it probably should have went on those other 2 attempts. But nonetheless, an absolutely killer performance from Jordan Addison. Kirk Cousins had a great one too, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns, good enough for 21 points. That's a hell of a game, and it was in a primetime spot where Kirk Cousins is notoriously pretty bad. So it was great to see. I'm sure most people benched him because of the matchup. Not looking so good right now. Yeah, I don't blame anybody for benching him, but he stepped up in a big way, did Kirk Cousins. And then on the other side of the ball, McCaffrey, even when it feels like he's not having a great game, even when he fumbles 7 yards away from the end zone, he still gets 2 touchdowns and puts up 22.6 fantasy points. I mean, he's just he's a rock star right now. Yeah, he's just unbelievable.
Zero worry.
I want to make it very known for all my Dolphin fans that I benched Cousins for Tua. Okay, just want to say that. Just want to say that.
Damn.
Too hard, just 2 tough matchups for quarterbacks.
Right.
There was no right answer, even though it was Kirk Cousins. In hindsight, but when you have to make that decision, there's no right answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely not. I mean, the whole thing with the Niners is, McCaffrey's going to get the ball all the time. Do we worry a little bit? I'm not worried about it, but it's like Ayuk 10 points, Jennings 10 points, Kittle 13. I mean, was it the defense or was it just a bad day for Brock? I want to say it's a bad day for Brock.
See, I have a weird little take on this because
bad day for Travis.
Brock most certainly. Brock most certainly. I mean, I got the shit end of the stick out of his performance there, but let me tell you something. They were in position to take the lead early, and then McCaffrey fumbled. And then Jordan Addison gets that touchdown right before half, puts them in a bigger hole. There's been this theory that the 49ers don't play well once they have to play from behind. And we haven't had to see that much this year. This week we saw it, and it's kind of true. And Brock, in situations where he didn't have to force the ball, and he really didn't on the interception, you could see like on the replay, he just threw it with crazy anticipation, and Juwan Jennings put an extra move on the route, and just it ended up being an interception. It was unnecessary. My biggest thing with this game, Brandon Ayuk, 0 targets in the second half. That just can't happen, especially in a game where there's no Debo. He gets 5 for 57 in the first half, and you're thinking Ayuk's about to go nuclear.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Goes missing in the second half. So that's something that can't happen moving forward, especially if Debo is going to miss another week with that hairline fracture.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for the Vikings for continuing to play Akers through the fourth quarter. So I didn't have to lose points with Madison.
Yeah. Talking about how close our game was, this guy won a matchup by a decimal point because of Alexander Madison. He needed 5.86 from Madison and got 6.20. I mean,
dude,
and we knew it was
rough. At the end of the game, they were running the ball, and it was like when you didn't see Madison in there, you were happy because they were losing yards on the carries. And I was like, oh my God, thank God that wasn't Madison. I would have lost.
Yeah, man. I like games like this that hold so much fantasy value for teams, and especially when you're it's a Monday night game, and it's exciting. It's like, damn, am I gonna win this week? Am I gonna win this week? So it was very exciting. As we said, Bruce had a close game. Me and Trav had a close game. I got lucky of those IU going ghosts. I got lucky of Purdy throwing interceptions, and it is that exactly luck because Addison just went off.
That's fantasy football, man. I'll tell you what, even losing like that, I still had a hell of a time watching that game because of the
butterflies.
Not knowing if you're gonna win or gonna lose. But that was an incredible game.
Rough.
No, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our week 7 review. We took our time this week because of the missing of last week. So we wanted to give you as much information of these players and as much as we can. Before we head out today, Trav, do you have an injury report for us today?
Nope, don't want to do it. Yes, I got one. So let's start with Jerome Ford, running back for the Cleveland Browns, who, was it the first carry of the game? He ripped off a long touchdown. It looked like he was going to have a monster day. Only finished with about 17 fantasy points, I believe. He has a high ankle sprain. They're saying he's going to miss roughly 2 weeks. And like we spoke about earlier, our boy JSN finally popped off, but that was in large part due to DK Metcalf missing some time, missing this game with a hip injury. No solid timeline on when he's going to come back, but just keep your eye out on that one. Chris Godwin, short week, plays on Thursday, nursing a neck injury right now. We don't know much about it, but we'll continue to watch his practice status as the week progresses. Jalen Waddle came up with a back injury in that Philadelphia game. He was able to return, but was still moving very gingerly, so something to watch moving forward. Dawson Knox is going to be having wrist surgery. Bruce mentioned earlier, good time to have Dalton Kincaid go off of that game he did. And now with no Dawson Knox breathing down his neck, Kincaid can be one of those boom tight end options down the rest of the season. Speaking of tight end options that are no longer with us, he's not dead, but he is injured. Zach Ertz, injured reserve with a strained quad, and he will be missing the next 4 games. Boost up to Trey McBride, the second-year tight end. Gerald Everett has a hip injury for the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll monitor that one closely. We don't know much about it yet, but we do know that much. And again, tight ends, Luke Musgrave, ankle injury. He got popped by Kareem Jackson. That's not associated with that play. This is a random ankle injury, and we're just going to monitor it closely throughout the week for Luke Musgrave. That's it. A short one.
I'm happy to hear that it's short.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I just traded away Jerome Ford, so I'm not happy about his injury. I'm just happy that I got out of my team before he got injured. Trade deadlines coming up in a lot of leagues and a lot of fantasy leagues. So we will talk more about trades on our next episode coming later on in this week. But once again, down below in the comments, or give us your questions, give us your trade questions. So tell us what's going on in your league so we can evaluate some trades. That should be fun for us to do. Travis is pretty good at breaking down those trades, so that'll be fun for us to watch here. And any questions or anything that you want to talk about, I have a private forum. My app is right here at Feebz, man. That private forum, you come to me and tell me how upset you are that the Dolphins suck. All right, ladies and gentlemen, RDL week. Listen, it's all jokes. It's not jokes. I hate them. But gentlemen, anything else you want to talk about before we go ahead and close this beautiful week 7 review up, and before we go and talk about week 8 later on this week?
No, I played Trav this week, so it should be an interesting week.
Easy
coming
win.
for that win, baby. My first win. I'm coming for it.
Man, let me see. I want to look at that before we leave. Can I look at that matchup specifically?
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh, you play him in Dynasty? Oh, no.
In your league.
Already.
Yeah, week 8.
Projected to get a whopping 88 points. That's awesome.
Nice,
Travis.
And that's without a tight end. You just wait until I get a tight end there, buddy.
Just wait. Ladies and gentlemen, RDL, thank you for joining us this week. We'll catch you later on this week before the week 8 matchups. See you later.
Peace.
If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. If you looking for the truth, then I'm the real deal. Shout out to the crew and they get real. I'm in with the crew, nigga, real deal. You not on the team, boy, you on the bench. You not in my league, how I'm on your neck. Hey, I heard you working out, please don't hurt yourself. My pockets by the flex, your pockets gotta stretch. Okay, don't talk too much and boost go at your chest. I just told Pete to let it go, but he ain't got already set. And I bet he leave him frozen when they hear what Travis said.